Welcome back to Lost Legacies. I'm Matt.
And I'm Sam.
And I'm Dad.
Hi, Dad.
Hi.
Welcome back to the show, Pops.
Hey, thank you much.
It's been a while. We
A
watched
little
a whole season of Dark since the last time you were here.
Whoa. Over
man.
30 episodes? Or no,
No,
under
it wasn't
30
before Dark. It was the season, so
episodes.
it was like 8.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Eight
so-
too long.
We're in our down month. You know, what did I call it? The month of fun or something.
Month
like
of
that?
fun, yeah.
Yeah.
Fun.
So we're just chilling, relaxing. So we brought Dad in.
Oh, thank you.
And Sam texted me a question last week, so I said, okay, we're going to have to bring this up on the podcast. So I kind of figure out that, I figured, yeah, so I just ignored his text. I'm like, I'll save it for the podcast.
That's what our relationship has become.
Mhm.
Just I text you a question, has no bearing on anything whatsoever, and you're like, content. We can use it.
There you go. There you go. I'm trying, man.
Great.
Sam texts me, he's like, hey, is everything all right? And I have to stop and think, is everything all right? We should bring this up on the podcast. So I won't text him back.
Everything's fine, yeah.
So he thinks I'm lying in a ditch somewhere and I'm planning the next episode. So, Sam's question was a superhero question. And if there's one thing we can't talk enough about, it's superheroes.
True.
So I kind of figured that's what this episode is going to be about. First off, this past weekend, I started watching X-Men 97.
Ooh.
I know I'm behind. I know
Yeah.
everyone's about to. By the time this airs, it's probably going to be finished, the first season. But yeah, I just started literally just one episode in. Sam started spoiling stuff, so I'm like, all right, I got to catch up.
I'm sorry. I got excited.
But I was telling Dad, I'm like, man, thank God they're finally giving my boy Cyclops some justice.
Mhm.
Like, he's a badass. Finally.
Mhm.
And like, I loved him as a kid because I loved him in the show. Even though now as an adult, I'm looking back, I'm like, wow, they really wimped him up a bit in that show, you know?
Yeah.
And
We started watching the original,
Mhm.
kind of like as a lead-in, and yeah, there was just so much. I'm like, man, Cyclops is not great here.
yeah,
And they really were just pushing the Wolverine agenda.
yeah.
Yep. Agreed.
The Batman of the Marvel Universe. Yeah, they're just like, hey, we'll put him in everything because he sells.
That's true.
So what's the moral of the story? Pointy ears. Pointy ears will make you money in the comic industry.
Wolverine doesn't have pointy ears,
Dude, he has the mask, his mask.
but those aren't ears.
Will they look like, what are they, points? Mountains?
I don't know.
That's his Wolverine. They're like it's ears. They're Wolverine ears. I'm positive.
I don't know about that.
I don't even know what a Wolverine looks like.
You don't know what a Wolverine looks like?
I'm looking it up right now.
They don't have pointy ears.
They don't have pointy ears like that.
Well,
Their ears lie flat.
I look up Wolverine, and you know what? I beg to differ. Wolverines wear yellow and blue.
Uh-huh.
No,
And
They have
no.
stripes.
Oh,
They have
God.
blue stripes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They look nothing like Wolverine. It kind of
Metal
looks like a
claws.
bear.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a mini bear.
Speaking of Wolverine, Dad, did you see the Wolverine and Deadpool trailer?
No.
What?
I'm leaving it at that.
How are we feeling about this, Sam?
What at what we've seen?
Yeah, like are you excited for this?
If you had asked me a couple years ago, I'd say yes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know. I think I'm just tired. I'm tired. Hey, I'm tired of Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool. I'm even back then, I wasn't like a super huge fan. I enjoyed his movies enough, but yeah, I don't know. Like, I just feel like no, like this isn't. It's not my humor anymore. and I don't know, like I feel like we keep bringing back. Well, we keep bringing back one. We keep trying to bring back Wolverine, and I thought Hugh Jackman gave a great performance and was
Mhm.
given an incredible bow out, in
Mhm.
Logan, and I thought that was fine. But yeah, I don't know. Like this just feels like the remnants of an older era.
Mhm.
And yeah, it looks fun, it looks cool. I'll definitely go check it out, but I'm not necessarily, thinking that I'm gonna rush to the theaters to go watch it.
I think it is because this is supposed to be like the finale of like the Fox universe,
Yeah.
of movies, but it's running the risk of just feeling like another Fox movie from the Fox universe.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've always liked the Deadpool movies. I'm almost the opposite with you. I think I only like Ryan Reynolds in the Deadpool films
Mm,
because everything else it's just Ryan Reynolds, you know.
yeah.
And we've talked about this ever since like the start of his career, like ever since Blade Trinity. Like nobody knows what to do with him. They just write characters that are Ryan Reynolds. It's very rare if he's given something to stretch outside of his box, outside
Yeah.
of his comfort zone. And I'm like, all
Yeah.
right, Deadpool, it kind of works, you know. But I don't know. I'm excited to see Hugh Jackman back as Wolverine.
Hmm.
I really don't care about the whole crossing over with the Fox universe. I am interested to see how it crosses over with the MCU.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It could be fun. I'm just tired of multiverse in general. So I'm kind of like, this is it. We're gonna see what happens. And I just want to kind of issue a warning to anyone out there. Like, look, just go in with tempered expectations because everyone was so excited for Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. There's gonna be cameos everywhere. Robert Downey Jr. is coming back. Tom Cruise is gonna play an alternate universe Tony Stark. Like it's just crazy. And then what we got was good and it was fine for the film, but it was nowhere near what everyone was expecting. It was like, yeah, guys, like just calm down. Just
Yeah.
let them make something cool and let's just enjoy it. I don't know. I'm excited to see Wolverine and Deadpool fight, and then Wolverine and Deadpool team up.
Yeah.
And again, we're gonna see how they retire Hugh Jackman's Wolverine character, quote unquote, retire.
Maybe.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. I think they're waiting to see how well this does, and then they're going to determine if they're going to bring him back for Avengers Secret War or whatever's coming up next. And there's also the big rumors that they're going to bring Tobey Maguire Spider-Man back in. And I'm like tempering my expectations. I'm just like, let's just what we talked about last week, Sam. It's about character, you idiots.
Mm-hmm.
About character.
Mm-hmm.
Give me something with good character.
I agree.
Speaking of which, I don't know if this has good characters or not, but I did tell Dad about what's the video game, the Captain America and Black Panther.
I think it's just like Marvel 1944 or something.
Cool. I'm in
Is
it.
that what? Yeah.
We're gonna have to show Dad the trailer, but I'm excited for that.
I'm interested in that. I
Yeah.
like that. I like
All
that.
right.
We're
All
gonna
right.
get
So
Dad to play a video game, and we'll
get-
film it, and it'll
we'll
be
stream
content.
it.
There
We'll
you
stream
go.
it. There you go, Dad.
Watch
You know what
Rising
you're
Dad.
gonna do in your retirement? You're gonna be a Twitch streamer,
What?
and you're gonna play exclusively war games.
Look,
War games.
look, you're lucky I got a microphone and headphones on, okay? Don't put a controller in my hands, okay?
You have so much downtime, though. So
In
much
retirement?
time. Yeah.
Oh, we need to talk.
No. The past 40 years has been preparing him for retirement.
Oh yeah. Now the real work begins.
There you
Uh-huh.
go. There you go. Now you're getting it.
Mhm.
This is a little morbid, but this was where my head went. I want that written on my tombstone. Now
What?
the real work begins.
Wow. I kind of like that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna write that down. I'm gonna
Yeah,
save that for something.
There you go. Yeah.
Mhm.
It's
I
not
like
a
that.
bad one.
Kind of has like a little kind of like a demon hunter in it, like supernatural, like here lies Sam Winchester.
Or I'm taking up my next job, guardian angel.
Hey.
Hey, I've always said that. You remember our good buddy James Lipton from Inside the Actor Studio? He
Friend
would
of the
always
show, yeah.
ask when you get to heaven. What was the question when you get to heaven? Like, what would you ask God? Or,
No,
or
what do you want to hear God say?
yeah,
Yeah.
what do you want to hear God say? And mine was always, I want to get there. And the first thing they ask is, or the first thing they say is, one, it's about time. And two, it's time to get to work. Yeah. That's what I want to hear when I get there.
I like it.
I stayed alive a little too long, and now it's time to get to work.
It's because you slept in. That's why.
There you go. I guess I'll just ask the next question. I have no lead in for Sam's question, and it was over a week ago, so I've lost it in my text. But oh wait, let me see. Here's the notes. Okay, so Sam sent me a text asking which Batman villain would I like to see turn into a Superman villain, and vice versa. So I've been thinking about this.
Okay.
Sam, have you been thinking about this? Do you have an answer?
A little bit.
Okay, who wants to go first?
Rock, paper, scissors, this thing.
Okay. I don't know if it's gonna work with three of us. But... All right, rock, paper, scissors, go.
Okay.
All right, rock, paper, scissors, go.
Go.
Well, there's a lag. Sam beat both of us. So I guess Sam does.
Yeah, Sam's up.
What?
You
I
won.
win. I go for that's okay. Fine. Dang, I don't remember. Okay. Because I also forgot, and then you never answered, so I just like, okay, that's it. But I did ask our good friend Mickey about it, and we had a small text conversation about it.
Mhm.
I'm gonna do the reverse first. A Superman villain that I want to see as a Batman villain. Now this one's a little obscure, but I remember this character from the Superman animated show from the 90s. And his name is Luminous.
Ooh.
He only showed up in like 2 episodes, and he's only in the cartoon. I think he was maybe like a mix of a couple of different characters from the 80s or the Silver Age comics from Superman. But essentially he's like a LexCorp employee. He's got experiments going on. He gets laid off. And then so of course, wants to like get revenge, and he has this suit that it he's able to just create and control light from his suit. So he like starts robbing banks and stuff, but nobody can like see him because he's just this blinding white figure. And then I think in the second episode he was in, he did something. He put some sort of technology or something around Metropolis so that it was turning the sun red.
Oh, cool.
And because his theory was like, okay, like Superman's powered by the sun. If we change, the color of it or whatever, he should loses powers. And so
Hmm.
the whole episode, Clark is, losing his powers and getting weaker and weaker, and then, finally finds the device, has a fight, but he's depowered, all of that. I
That's
just
cool.
yeah. And I have vivid memories of going to I don't even know how old I was when we were doing this, but like sometimes dad would take us to the office,
Hmm.
and I'd just be sitting there, coloring or drawing or something. And then dad had like, I think it was on your lunch break. You said, okay, you can use the computer to, like look at stuff. And so I was like, oh yeah. So I would like go to the computer and it was this old like archive. Well, I say old now, but it was this like Warner Brothers archive that was specifically for the animated shows, and back then it was just Batman the animated series and Superman. So I'd
Hmm.
go and I'd click on the character profiles, and of course this is the like mid no, this is like the late 90s, I guess, or the early 2000s, so internet is still very slow. So I'm there waiting for these things to load up so I can read about all these characters, and then I draw them really quick. Couple of times I'd ask dad, can I print out one of these? And you're like, yes, you can print out, don't make it too much. And I was like, okay. There's three. uh yeah. Yeah, so yeah, and that was one of the guys. So I don't know. He's just kind of just been stuck in my head for a while, and
Hmm.
I want to see him. I want to see him switch over. One, make the leap into comics, but then I think it would be interesting to have a villain who, you know, battles Batman. Because he's always in the shadows. He's always sneaking around. That's his motive. That's what he does. Like I would love to see a character who just kind of takes that advantage away from him.
Hmm. So we eventually get Batman in the all white suit.
Ooh,
That
yeah.
would be cool. I can't see him.
Ooh.
Where is he? And then, ooh, this
Right in
version,
front of you.
he
Bam.
opens his eyes and they're just black. Because
Yeah.
traditionally they're white eyes, right?
Yeah. Now you're
Yeah.
getting it.
Oh
See?
man, I like that. I
Comics are so
remember that
cool.
site too. That was that. I remember that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Is it still up?
Probably
Oh, I
not.
don't know.
Oh,
Probably not.
gosh.
I wouldn't even know how to look it up, to be
Yeah.
honest.
Oh, little Sam, so full of wonder.
Yeah.
It's cool, like going back and hearing like what influenced you at like what times and what periods. That's cool.
Mhm.
Um, to kind of jump on that about the Superman villain turning Batman, I think mine is it's kind of obvious when I say it,
Mhm.
but it took me a while to get here. But I would like to see Lex Luthor become a Batman villain
Mm.
because what is he other than the anti Bruce Wayne? You know,
True.
he keeps his himself is front and center. He doesn't hide behind a mask. He leads with his ego. He leads with fear and whereas Batman's trying to do good. Lex comes from like a position of like quote unquote trying to protect Earth and Metropolis, and I think to a certain extent that's true, but he's
Mhm.
just going about it the whole completely wrong way, and he knows it. He knows it.
Mhm.
But I kind of see Lex Luthor as like I don't know the evil version of like the Snyder Batman because that was Zack Snyder's vision of Batman. Like, oh man, Superman got in a fight, destroyed Metropolis. I'm gonna put all my money and resources into killing him. You
Yeah.
know, and that's why I really didn't like that Batman. I like Ben Affleck's performance, but I didn't really like
Mhm.
that Batman. But I mean, that's essentially what Lex Luthor is. He's like, no, if someone's gonna lead humanity into the future, it should be a human, and
Yeah.
why not me?
Yeah.
You know. So I would like to see that. Like it's not really the anti Batman; it's the anti Bruce Wayne, which I also
Yeah.
think would be cool because I want more Bruce Wayne centric adventures. You know, I
Yeah.
want to see more of his quote unquote persona, the mask that is Bruce Wayne. You
Mhm.
know, so Yeah, that's my Superman to Batman villain.
Okay. Okay. I like that.
What about you,
Okay.
Pops? Superman to Batman.
Superman to Batman. Yeah, that was a tough one. I'd have to go. That's a tough one because, to be honest with you, I went Batman to Superman.
Oh, okay. We'll do that.
Okay, so I said I went with the obvious. I went with Joker. I said Joker is a Superman villain. Okay, Superman's villains. They don't cause the chaos that Joker does. Okay, they're all out for something. Okay, something tangible. Okay, Joker is just out to wreak havoc. Okay, so it'd be interesting to see how Superman dealt with that. Because his way of doing things is upfront and personal. Not like Batman, where Batman has to go and be the great detective and all that stuff. That's not what Superman's. I would like to force Superman into a situation where he has to do detective work. And the best villain for that is going to be the Joker. So there you go.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay.
I like that.
I like that. I just to kind of piggyback off that, mine was from Batman to Superman, mine would have been the Riddler. Because I want to see Superman have to not so much think his way out of a problem, because Superman's pretty smart, and a lot of the fans forget that, and a lot of the writers forget that too. They just think, oh, small town farm boy. But also I think that's kind of cool too, because it's like, okay, Superman is smart, but it's like a book smart. And also depends which Superman we're talking about, because certain Superman's lore or mediums, like he has the knowledge of Krypton in his head, whereas others, I don't know if they didn't focus on that, or they didn't mention it, so it kind of depends which Superman you're talking about. But I like that idea, and I kind of want to see that, whereas like detective work is, sure, it's intelligence, but there's also like I always think of in D&D terms. So it's like intelligence will only get you so far. You need wisdom for the rest of the way. And I think that's where the detective comes in. It's more of the wisdom. It's like, okay, I have the clues. Now it's putting it together, putting the puzzle together. Yeah. And that's something I would like to see Superman deal with. For whatever reason, whatever circumstance, he has to outsmart the Riddler. Like, ooh, that would be cool.
I can see that.
I like that.
Yeah. And I have more too, but I could say that when Sam's done, or
Okay. So I'll say this. Before we started this, I didn't have an answer for who my Batman villain going over to Superman would be. But while we were talking about this, I thought of my answer. My answer for a Batman villain going over to Superman would be Ra's al Ghul.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Because I think it's less so like the more like mystical, magical side, but I think as a villain, Ra's al Ghul has always been sort of played smaller than I think he's supposed to be. He's this ancient old warlord. He's the head of this huge, organization of assassins, all these things. And yet every single story is only so focused on Batman. It's like, oh, we've got to stop Ra's al Ghul from doing this and doing that. It gets a little James Bondy when you start going up against Ra's. But it like I don't know, like it's always just like, oh, but you're you're the only one I can see taking over, you know, doing all this stuff. It's like, so
Mhm.
it gets interpersonal that way. I would like to see Superman take on Ra's al Ghul and the League of Assassins. I want to see how he would do that, because I feel like that's a little more out of his wheelhouse too, where it's like, you know, you've got to think about in terms of like, this is an organization, you know, well, how are they getting their funding, how are they getting all this stuff? This is a thing that Superman can partially handle, but really Lois and Clark are going to be the ones spearheading this. Like, we have to investigate,
Mm.
we got to go do this, we got to figure out where are they getting their money, where is the shipments coming in, you know, all these things. And then once we get to the bigger thing, once all the ninjas come out, or you know, the ninjas start turning into, you know, man bats or whatever, then Superman can come out and, you know, start fighting them,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah.
I think that would be cool, and then tackling it also like publicly, like with the Daily Planet, you know, to start to say like, hey, like, you know, this is infiltrating our city, you know, these ninjas are, you know,
Mhm.
coming to kill the mayor or something. Like, I don't know, I think that would be fun, and just to
Yeah.
have that that kind of duality of like, these are two, technically, you know, speaking, like Superman and Ra's, they are like these two completely different beings. You know, Clark is an alien who's here trying his best to be human, and then here's Raish, who is this man born of the earth, but has become so much more and is technically
Mhm.
less human now. Like, yeah, I don't know.
Mhm.
I just think
Yeah.
that dichotomy is really fun.
Especially because it's like each time you use the Lazarus pits,
He
you
he loses himself.
you lose yeah, one, you go a little crazy, but then you still come back. But I think
Hmm.
still it's kind of like a shout out to Dark. It's corrupting you a little bit, like your soul or
Yeah,
whatever, you know. So I think that's
yeah,
the cool like opposite of Superman. I
yeah.
really like that.
Time to start writing.
I know. So
DC at me.
I
There.
think Batman just has the best villains ever. Like he's up, you know, he's up there with like Spider-Man as far as the rogues gallery is. You know, they
Hmm.
just feel so perfect for him. But I love the possibilities that you get with them because there's so many where like and I think Sam and I have kind of talked about this. So many of these villains, like we could come up with cool stories of like how they turn good or
Yeah.
how they kind of become anti-heroes
Hmm.
because they're just the history of them is so well written, you know. It's like, oh, I could see where they're coming from, and you could craft really interesting stories where these characters are the lead, you know. um but I would like I would love to see like Superman go against Poison Ivy. I think that would be cool.
That's what Mickey
Well,
said.
yeah, one, because we kind of see that in Hush where she's able to like overpower him and like control him with
Hmm.
her pheromones. But I also just like the idea that like he's the farm boy. He knows all about Earth, you know,
True.
and the land, and like that would be a really interesting, a different kind of take on it because he knows where she's coming from. He knows, you know, like I don't know. Um, I would also like to see. What did we? Oh, I was gonna say Ra's al Ghul. Um, I've always been an advocate for Superman learning magic or at least
Hmm.
enough to like protect himself.
Yeah.
Because again, it's a common misconception. Superman isn't weak against magic. It's just he has no defense against it, you know?
Yeah.
So if a spell's gonna hurt you, Sam, it's gonna hurt Superman the exact same way, you know?
Hmm.
If Sam takes 5 hit points of damage, Superman will take 5 hit points of damage. You know, it's exactly the same. So it's not like he's weak to it.
I
It's
only have
just,
10 of those.
oh no. Well, you're halfway okay. So yeah, Superman, he's not weak to it. He's just he has no defense like the rest of his body is to everything else.
Hmm.
Um, and we got a comic with Batman and why Batman doesn't study magic, and it's mostly because Zatanna's dad didn't let him.
Yeah.
You know, And it was just kind of like you're so obsessive in your quest for vengeance. If you go down this route, this path, you're gonna lose yourself. And I'm like, oh, that's really cool. Because in that comic, young Bruce Wayne is really adamant. He's like, I'm setting out to rid the world of crime and all this stuff. Why won't I use magic if I know it's real? And I was like, that's a really cool concept. Like, why doesn't Batman use magic? It's because people don't let him. I'm like, I really like that. So I kind of feel like it would kind of be that way with Superman. It was like, all right, one, we can't make you too OP, Superman. But also just a little, give him a little something to protect himself.
Yeah.
So I would like that. But finally, my last one. My main one was Riddler, but with Superman, I always feel like they never go sci-fi enough.
Mm-hmm.
And like they always he's Superman, he's stuck in the superhero genre. But I'm like, let's get funky with it, man. Let's get weird. You know, I want to see some weird sci-fi with Superman. And the only Batman villain that could fit that funky sci-fi villain archetype, Tempest Fugit. The guy who can control time versus Superman.
Huh.
The Clock King himself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, Superman. How fast did you say you were again? He starts turning his clocks backwards. I'm like, oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Just
right.
run wild, you know? Like, I feel like Superman should be like the Fantastic Four of the DC. Like, they just do weird stuff. And like Fantastic Four has always reminded me of like the pulp sci-fi, you know, way before my time. That's kind of what I want to see with Superman.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah, I think like something that I think they don't do enough is, you know, like the old or like the animated serials that they did of Superman, you know, where he's fighting the big robots or you know, like I think it's weird that we kind of move away from like the pulpiness as time goes on. I don't know. Yeah. I think that would be fun.
Yeah, I think that'd be cool.
The
Batman gets some kind of rare, like, life-ending disease. There's no cure. So Star Labs has to shrink Superman down to the size of a molecule, and he has to enter Batman's bloodstream, you know? Because Superman's the only thing that won't be killed by this disease. And then it finds out it's like some kind of nanotech. You know, like, oh, and then it's kind of like Superman 3 where it tries taking him over. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Oh man, throwback. Okay, so Dad.
Yes.
I have a question. I'm trying to think of how to say this gently. You're easily twice our age. You've been on this planet easily twice the amount of decades than we have.
Wow.
I'm not liking where this is going.
Wow.
So my question is, growing up, I know you would read comics and you were into superheroes and stuff when you were younger. Do you remember like a certain superhero, or I guess any kind of fictional character that was created after you were already born, kind of taking off? Because we already, Batman and Superman were in the 20s, right?
30s.
30s?
In the 30s.
So was there something that to you was brand new and fresh? Because I feel like for Sam and I, our generation, like any kind of new superhero, it's rare, especially to be successful. You know? So like what was that like? Was it the gold rush of superheroes, or
How old do you
well-
think Dad is?
Dad says he was born before they invented color. Okay. And I believe everything my dad says.
Oh gosh. Okay.
Wow.
Well, that's your first problem.
Mm-hmm.
When did Spider-Man come out? Because I remember in the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was definitely alive, but I remember going. I remember walking to the corner store where I would get my comic books, and I just remember. I don't remember the actual cover, but it was a Spider-Man book, comic book, and it was like, "Whoa, what's this?"
Mm-hmm.
Because I had never seen it before. And
So Spider-Man came out in Amazing Fantasy number 15, 1962.
okay, well, I was a little young in 62,
Mm-hmm.
but let's see. So, not to rat out my mom, but I used to go to the store when I was about 6.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, that would be in 65. So, around 1965 is when I discovered Spider Man.
Okay.
Okay. Because I don't know when the TV cartoon came out, but the only thing that I remember watching on TV was was Superman when I was that young. It was only later on, I don't know, 10 or 12 when I remember uh Batman cartoons and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So everything that I would get as far as comic books came from the corner store.
That's cool.
Granted, didn't have a big selection of comics, but it was enough.
True. Okay.
What about the Phantom? When was the Phantom?
Oh, the Phantom is
Oh.
really, really old. I remember my dad talking about the Phantom being
Really?
a radio show.
Mhm.
Oh, that's right. It was a radio show.
It was a radio show, and so it would come out. They would call them serials. So it would come out so many episodes per week, and they would just replay these things. So that was the Phantom. So that was my dad was born in 1930. So as a little kid, well before World War II, and so you had that. He also had The Shadow. Was a radio show.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows the evil that lurks in the hearts of men? The Shadow knows. Now, if that didn't scare little kids in the 1930s, I don't know what would. But that was the intro to the show.
Yeah.
The Phantom was definitely syndicated in the newspapers back then. That's how it. I think that's how it really started before it actually went into the comic books. So it was it was a radio show, and then it went into the newspapers as a comic, and then it got into the comic books.
I'm reading right here. Series began with a daily newspaper strip in February 1936, followed by a color Sunday strip in May 1939.
Wow.
Both are still running as of 2024.
Wow.
What?
Yeah.
No
I'm
way.
gonna have to find that.
Crazy. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. That's the Phantom.
Kit Walker.
Well, there's speaking of like pulp comics, I forget who it is, but they started a new sort of Flash Gordon comic strip
Hmm.
that comes out, but it's a daily one. So it comes out daily. I follow the artist on Twitter who does it. I think his name is Dan Shakid. Uh, I've been following him for a while, and yeah, all of a sudden he was just like, yeah, I've got exciting news. And he said, yeah, he's the new artist on the daily Flash Gordon comic strip. And it's really cool because it looks like, it looks like the old one.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's, kind of modern, a little more cartoony, kind of has a little bit of like a uh Ed McGuinness sort of
okay.
feel, but
Yeah.
at least in terms of like how it looks cartoony, you know,
I love his art
not
style.
not like the bulkiness, but yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Muscles just look
really
very
cool.
comfy. They look like pillows.
That's true. That's true.
Can I use your chest as a pillow?
Yes, you may.
Mm-hmm. That's cool, man.
Yeah, it's really cool.
I just brought that up because like I'm thinking of like our little cousins growing up, and all these fandoms and characters are already established, and in a big way that's also how we were. Like
Yeah.
a lot of the superheroes popular today, they were already popular before we were born, or at least popular in some form. Sam, like, do you like what's a superhero created post 87, because that's when I was born, post 87 that's like been successful and is working? I could think of like Invincible and The Boys to a certain extent,
Oh yeah.
but I don't know, like
Yeah. I mean, that's like, man. Yeah, that's a good question.
I feel like there hasn't been any that the easy part is there hasn't been any that are as popular as like our mainstream heroes.
Yeah,
So they
yeah,
probably have like little or just smaller, followings,
yeah,
almost
yeah,
cult status.
yeah. Oh, so like but what you were mostly talking about was like just like original heroes not tied to like DC or Marvel.
Well, it could be, but I mean, like,
Hmm.
just stand alone. Because I mean, there's always new X-Men. You know,
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
always someone new in the Bat family.
yeah,
But
yeah.
just like someone who kind of just stands on their own. Like, I kind of feel like the closest. I don't know if you could call him superhero, but the closest would be like Harley Quinn,
Hmm.
because she got started as in the
Oh yeah,
cartoon
yeah.
and then in the
As a cartoon
comics,
character.
but like she's just blown up, in like the 2000s, and then just kept going and going, and now she has her
Yeah,
own shows and comics.
yeah.
um I don't know.
So superheroes created. What did you say? 87?
Yeah, after 87.
Oh, sorry, this was a little before that. In 1984, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Ooh, that's a good one,
Yeah,
actually.
that's a good one.
Yeah. See,
Mhm.
that's kind of what I'm thinking, like
Turtles.
something that's a completely
Ninja
new
Turtles.
concept but that is successful. I like
Yeah.
that. Sam and I have always talked about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, how they would fit perfectly in the Marvel universe.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like that.
Well, yeah, like, and they're like, it's not a big secret. The creators of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, uh, knocked off a lot of the concepts from Daredevil. They said
Oh
they said
yeah.
that they said that the same radioactive ooze that blinded Matt Murdock is the same residue that gave birth to the Ninja Turtles.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of,
No.
and then they've got, yeah, and then the old mentor who trains Matt Murdock to fight, Stick, they're like, oh well, we need one of those for the turtles, but no human's gonna do. Oh, what about yeah, like a rat? Yeah, a
Mhm.
rat. Yeah, okay. And then they started. Splinter is gonna be his name. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
And then
It's
the
not
the
stick, it's splinter.
it's not
Yeah.
Stick and Splinter. And then the organization of ninjas that Matt Murdock fights, the Hand. Well, we got to give something like that to the Ninja Turtles. What's in it? Not the hand, it's the foot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They fight the foot.
They fight the foot. Yeah, it was. It was a very it was a pastiche and almost a parody,
Yeah.
but they did it with such love and affection, and it stuck. It was a huge underground success, and then yeah, a couple of years later
Yeah.
they essentially like sell the rights, and now they have all the TV, all the shows, the movies, all of it.
And it's more kid friendly now.
Yeah, yeah. They still have. I think I don't know if they're still going, but I know that they've gone back to kind of do more like serious Ninja
Mhm.
Turtle stuff. We get stuff like The Last Ronin that's kind of in that same universe,
Yeah.
but we also have just like kind of continuations, from
Yeah.
that point on.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah, really cool.
And they said like you can't go to the Ninja Turtle comics and say like, oh, Matt Murdock is in here, Stick is in here.
Mhm.
That's all stuff the authors have said in interviews and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But if you look at the artwork, they have hidden things in there.
Mhm.
Like I saw one where like you see like a kid like when the stuff spills, you see a kid like laying down in it or something like that. So
Mhm.
like they've hinted like it's pretty much like it's not quote unquote canon, but it's in there if you look for it. Like you could see Matt
Mhm.
Murdock in it. And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
that's so cool. Yeah.
Yeah. I just want the Ninja Turtles to team up with Daredevil.
Yeah.
I think that'd be
And
fun.
they always team them up with DC, which is
Yeah,
fine.
they've been
But
teaming
like
up with DC the last couple years.
Ninja Turtles are so specifically New York,
Yeah,
and I guess New York exists in DC
technically, yeah,
technically.
yeah.
But yeah, it should be more of a Marvel thing. Team up with Daredevil, team them up with the Defenders. I would
Mm-hmm.
love that.
That'd be cool.
Okay, 1988, Tank Girl. Not as popular as others, but Tank Girl was pretty popular.
Well, not as popular, I think, here in America, but I think she's pretty popular in like Australia.
Oh yeah, that makes a lot of
Yeah,
sense.
yeah, and also again, you've got to think that like these are underground comics.
Very indie, yeah.
Yeah, very indie comics. Yeah, if you want to get technical, like Spawn and a lot of the stuff out of Image Comics,
Oh
those
yeah.
those were super successful, because I think in the 90s they start playing into like the more edginess of this like post Watergate, post Vietnam world.
Hmm.
Kids want heroes that kill and got guns. Very famously, Todd McFarlane said, "Oh yeah, we gotta put them in chains. Kids love chains." And
Yeah.
so that's why Spawn just has a billion chains, wrapped around his body. And it's like, yeah, sure.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, it is very, yeah. I think what kind of hits more in like the 2000s is when you look at like the ultimate Marvel comics. Like they
Yeah.
weren't, they weren't like they weren't putting out new superheroes, but the Ultimates line did a thing where it was like we're starting at one.
Hmm.
This is the origin, because there's years of history that you got to read through, to figure out, get the context for the modern stuff. But with Ultimates, it was a clean slate. And
Yeah.
right at the 2000s, I think was a perfect time for that to hit, because the movies just came out and they were so successful.
Hmm.
And that drove a lot of new people to the comic stores. Be like, hey, like what's the Spider-Man? What's like the latest Spider-Man I can read? Stuff like that. Oh, well, you can either dig through this bin that's got 40 years plus worth of comics and find something you like,
Hmm.
or you can start here with Ultimate Spider-Man #1, and the next issue comes out next week.
And
You know?
I think also they made Spider-Man a kid again. I think that was a crucial part of it.
Yeah.
Because they're starting off from the very beginning, and just by making him a kid, it was aiming it at younger audiences.
Yeah.
And that's if you want to talk about the success and longevity of comics, you have to do that. You have to. It's getting less and less about people how much money we can make now.
Mm-hmm.
That's why so many comics are getting canceled left and right. But it's more about it's more of a long-term thing. So I think making Spider-Man a teenager again was perfect, not just for the Ultimate Spider-Man comic, but for the Marvel brand, because it brought so many people in. Because then they're like, oh, because they are also doing crossovers. What's Ultimate X-Men? All right. Oh, they also started with #1.
Mm-hmm.
I also don't want to read decades worth of X-Men comics. Let's start with #1 here. So it was such a. It was just done really well, especially those first arcs of Ultimate X-Men as well. It's like,
mm-hmm.
And I think they keep trying to capitalize on that success and failing, because I think comic books in general, they're always trying to, they always have to reboot. Every 5 years, there's a reboot of the universe. And what worked with Ultimates is that it wasn't the prime comic, it wasn't the prime canon. They went off and did their own thing, and they could swing for the fences because they didn't have to worry about continuity.
Yeah.
But now, of course, you have different people running the companies and stuff. Like, well, we got to bring people back in. Let's restart everything again.
Yeah.
But we don't want to piss people off and change continuity, so they're still tied to continuity of what happened before.
Well, that's more of a DC thing, because DC has rebooted their stuff at least twice.
Yeah.
And Marvel hasn't really done that.
Mm-hmm.
But what Marvel has done more is we're focusing on events and events every summer and doing all this stuff. Right now, I think they started one that's a huge vampire epidemic going on around the world. And what you have to take into account now, at least for Marvel, is how successful the MCU is.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately now that's a huge driving force in what teams get put out and what heroes are leading those teams and all of that. So there's a lot of they don't want to admit it, but there is a lot of corporate synergy going into that. That's why I think that's kind of why we're getting this vampire stuff and some Blade stuff, is because, well, we keep saying that we're going to make a Blade movie, so we got to put Blade out there, and stuff that people can readily buy.
Get people ready for it.
Yeah, essentially that's what ended this last run of X-Men comics, and they're doing a more back to basics kind of thing with the X-Men, because they're getting ready to make their cinematic debut with the MCU soon. So we need to have at least one volume worth of comics that oh, hey, yeah, you can buy this volume that's 5 issues, and then the new one starts next week, stuff like that. It's to its detriment too, because I think when you have stuff like that, it also sort of means that, and this is kind of just speaking broadly and speaking just within DC and Marvel, because other companies are different, but characters tend to get stuck. A huge part of why they had the whole controversial Spider-Man what is it, One Day More or something like that, One More Day, was because Marvel editorial, they didn't want to keep making comics for 40-year-old men. They wanted to make comics for kids. Kids aren't going to read a comic book where Spider-Man is married and has kids. They can't relate to that. So that's where they did the whole deal with the devil thing, and then Spider-Man loses his memory, and all these other things. And so it's sort of within the canon rewrites the Spider-Man history, so new fans can jump on board, and the old fans, well, if you're still around, it's fun. You hopefully you'll have fun, and
Yeah.
you know, yeah, but yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You started touching on a thing that I like. It's a sore spot for me, and I'm like,
Well, I mean, what you're describing to
I'm
me,
holding myself back.
what you're describing to me is another reboot. You know,
I mean,
they J.J. Abrams did by explaining how it's in continuity, but they rebooted it. You know, and then we saw where that went and how that got rewritten and canceled out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's crazy. So to kind of end this episode, I'm kind of curious because, speaking of just sticking with Marvel now, we've seen the MCU. We're like 20 plus films into it.
Mm-hmm. Crazy.
There's already a lot of characters who are gone. So, like, what stories do you want to see in the MCU? I guess in other media, like comic books or novels or video games. Like what stories do you want to see? And they could be classic stories or they could be new, because Iron Man, he's gone. Captain America, he's gone. Well, Steve Rogers, Captain America, is gone. We still have Sam Wilson, but like what stories can they not tell anymore in the MCU that you wish they could in another format?
Interesting.
I'll go ahead and just say mine. Mine is Midnight Suns. More so based off the video game than the comic run. And they still can, and they've kind of hinted at maybe they will because they're introducing Blade and more supernatural stuff.
Yeah.
But what I liked about the game is you have the supernatural side of Marvel, but you also have the Avengers. So it's really cool to see Steve Rogers, this guy from the 40s, and then Tony Stark, a guy whose everything is based off the technology and science, and you see them process the supernatural different, Where Steve Rogers, he's a soldier, and he's like, hey, tell me how to kill this thing. I'll kill it. Tony Stark is coming from a perspective like, none of this makes sense. Science doesn't make sense anymore, and I'm scared. And I thought that's something really cool. And unfortunately, Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr. are no longer in MCU. So I would like to see that story somewhere in a novel. I don't know where it would fit timeline-wise, but that's something I would have liked to see in the MCU. Comic or novel, whatever.
I think I would like to see Cap in World War II. Specifically, I would really like to see him meeting Wolverine.
Yeah.
That's the movie I wanted to see. Give me the Chris Evans and Hugh Jackman, duo, going through the trenches of Normandy, storming the beach. Doing all that stuff, and then we got cut off from the Howling Commandos, so now we got to go do this on our own. We're gonna take this little French village. We're gonna take them back from the Nazis, and
we have to hold the line.
Yeah, it's just the two of them. Do.
Like that would have been such a cool introduction to Wolverine in the MCU.
Yeah,
I like that idea.
I mean, with like. And I think that's kind of the thing too, like everybody says that they're done. I think, if there's a good enough story, I think we can get some of these people back. I think Chris Evans would be down to come back for like a small little role, that like introduces or shows like, oh yeah, new MCU Wolverine is be like, oh yeah, fought with that guy. When? Like, when were you in New York? Like, you were in the Battle of New York? Like, I don't even know. Talking about Normandy.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
Yeah,
You were
that would
there?
be cool.
It's like, yep. That'd be
Mm.
cool.
That'd be cool. That'd be cool. But I'm ready for a new Wolverine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we all are.
I'm and I really like Chris Evans as Cap,
Mhm.
but I think I'm ready for a new one.
Yeah.
Not I'm ready for a new Steve Rogers.
Well, I don't think that's happening
Oh.
anytime soon.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know.
I
But
wish we had more Steve Rogers. I do. In some capacity. Even if it's old Steve, if old Steve came back. I don't know. I feel like they really started to crack his character towards the end of like that era of MCU films. Like it was always
Yeah.
there, but like I don't know. It felt like he was kind of. Everyone thinks of Robert Downey Jr. and Tony Stark as kind of leading the Marvel universe. I really felt like it was coming to a point where it was becoming Cap, and they
Yeah.
just kind of ended at the same time. So, but yeah, I don't know. With the multiverse, who knows? Anything could happen. We could get a recast Steve Rogers, but I don't know. I think right. I honestly don't know what they're thinking. Like they could do anything at this point.
I like Sam Wilson. I think he's gonna
Yeah.
he's gonna do a good job as Captain America.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he can
Yeah.
fly. Steve Rogers can't fly. Already, he's got a one up on him. There you go.
Fair enough.
He doesn't have the super soldier serum, but hey, that's I kind of relate to that a little bit more. You know, even in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, like we had a whole training montage where he's like, man, like the shield is heavy and it's hard to throw. You know, so he's throwing it, he's tossing it, and that's cool because like he's a soldier. This is what he does. He trains. You know, it's like if you're not good at your job, you get good at your job.
Yeah, I think that was some of the best parts of
the
Falcon
show.
And Falcon and Winter Soldier. Like it wasn't the best show. I enjoyed it for what it was, but seeing Sam Wilson, who's just a human,
Just a guy,
but having to step up to carry the shield, I thought that was really cool. I really dug that. Also, just the weight of what that means to have a black man carry that shield.
Yeah,
I really thought that show really like kind of drove that home, and my hope is that can transition to the movie. You know,
Yeah.
I can easily see where that wouldn't fit because we got a 2-hour movie we got to make. You know, so I do hope they kind of do end up holding on to some semblance of that because that's Sam Wilson. You know. Yeah. And it's also kind of bummer that I don't think Bucky's going to be back in Cap 4. They haven't mentioned it.
He's not.
Yeah, which is a bummer because I really like Bucky and Sam Wilson. And like, I have issues with a lot of those bickering couple characters. You know, they're not really a couple, but they bicker like one. I'm like, all right, enough's enough. But I do like their chemistry together.
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of interested to see what Harrison Ford does.
Yeah.
We'll see.
He's not retiring.
No, I don't think so.
Not yet.
Not yet. He just signed up for Marvel. They've got him locked down for 20 years.
Gosh, to do what?
So he's playing
he's playing
Ross, right?
General Ross.
Yeah. Previously played by William Hurt.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So I think from what I've heard is he's running for president now. And a lot of it has to do because of the blip. So Ross is still here during the 5 years when half the planet gets blipped away. And he really kind of like takes charge. So now he's running for president.
Of course he does.
I don't know how true this is, but the rumor is people who've seen like sneak peeks and stuff, they've said that when Sam Wilson goes to talk to him, because obviously William Hurt passed away, so he's been recast as Harrison Ford. When Sam Wilson goes to talk to him, he's like, Still not used to the new look. And Harrison Ford says, they told me, lose the mustache or the election. Like, so Ross no longer has the mustache. Because Harrison Ford wasn't going to grow one.
Yeah, well.
He's like, look, you make me took off my earring, damn it. I'm not growing a mustache, too.
Yep. Fair enough.
I want to see Harrison Ford in a Western. You know? I want he just did that Yellowstone one.
Yeah, he did.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I'm like, because like, why isn't he in what's the Kevin Costner one? Horizon or something like that?
Yeah.
I want to see him team up with Kevin Costner.
Hey, but didn't he do
you don't remember Cowboys versus Aliens?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Daniel Craig, someone else I really want to see in a Western.
True. Yeah.
How does this happen? Okay, guys, we have Harrison Ford and Daniel Craig. We're gonna put them in a movie called Cowboys versus Aliens. Okay, guys, we have Harrison Ford and Liam Neeson. We're gonna cast them as Russian submarine commanders in whatever that movie was.
K-19, the Widowmaker.
K-19, the Widowmaker. That's right.
Yeah. Well, look. Unfortunately, the Western died a long time ago.
Yeah, don't tell Kevin Costner that.
He's like, well, I mean, hey, it's true, but like all things that die, there are some things that remain, and it still sticks around. It's got to be different stuff. A lot of Westerns now are smaller. They're more like personal stories or remakes. I really love the 310 to Yuma remake.
Oh, me too. Yeah.
Christian Bale, Russell Crowe. Yeah, I think like it's kind of slowly coming back, and I think that's kind of the key. Like you just keep making them. They're not going to be blockbusters. You can't make a Western with the idea now that it's going to be a blockbuster, but it's going to be something that like the crowd that loves it are really going to go watch it.
Yeah, I did enjoy the Magnificent Seven with Denzel. I enjoyed that one.
That one was good.
Yeah, so we'll see. Kevin Costner's either going to save it or kill it, the genre. Because, like, Horizon's going to be... I think they said it's a 3-movie event.
Oh, my gosh.
But he's talked about doing it, like, being 6 movies. Like, this is his Lonesome Dove. Like, he wants this to be, like, his legacy. And I'm like, man.
This and not The Postman.
Not Waterworld.
Not Waterworld.
Or, what's the Vegas one?
Leaving Las Vegas? No. 3,000 Miles to Graceland?
3,000 Miles to Graceland. I think
that's
what
not
it's called.
Vegas. That's Graceland. Oh wait, no. I guess Vegas is in that. Yeah. I don't remember.
Graceland Vegas?
No.
Okay, so I guess it was.
No, Graceland's in Memphis.
It's
Memphis,
yeah.
Tennessee.
Oh, that's right. I've been to Graceland. We've been to Graceland.
We've been to Graceland.
I've never been to Vegas, so there you go.
Oh,
but it's
okay.
about robbing casinos, so I thought it was Vegas.
Okay, all right.
They rob casinos dressed as Elvis.
And Elvis played Vegas, so there you go.
Yeah, they're Elvis impersonators who are robbing casinos. Again, Kevin Costner, Kurt Russell, and I think Christian Slater.
Really?
It wasn't a good movie. Again, they get these badass team ups for mid movies. 3,000 Miles to Graceland.
I thought we were ending the episode.
Yeah, so did I.
We can't.
Kurt Russell, Kevin Costner, Courtney Cox, Christian Slater. Wow. Cool.
Who knew?
Yeah. That's one we won't be talking about on the podcast, guys. Go watch that on your own time.
There you go. It's on Netflix somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. We can't find Sunshine streaming, but you could probably find that one. So, everyone, thanks for listening. Dad, thanks for joining us for this little extra long episode.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. We'll bring you back soon. We'll talk about something else.
All right.
And by something else, I'll just mean different superheroes. Everyone, thanks for joining us. Next week, we're going to be talking about a movie. As much joy as this fills me to say, I can feel it just weighing down Sam.
Mm-hmm.
We are watching one of my most underrated films of all time, Coherence. So look for Coherence 2013, directed by James Ward Bierkit on Amazon Prime. Cool little funky, low budget indie sci-fi, I don't know, thriller film? I don't know. You tell me. And I love this film watching it. Sam had issues with it, but I think Sam kind of fell more in love with the film the more he found out about the behind the scenes. So
yeah,
I don't know, because we've talked about it. I've talked about it a lot, and Sam's generally pretty positive when we talk about it. So it's going to be interesting to see Sam watch it again, this time knowing how it was made and all that stuff. So we'll talk about all of that next week on the podcast with Coherence. And I know Sam's going to make the joke more like incoherence.
I wasn't even thinking that, but that's good. I'm gonna say that. I'm gonna open that.
That's good. That's gonna be the title of our episode. Incoherence.
Yeah, more like incoherence.
Mm-hmm. As always, you can find us, guys. Send us messages or whatever. Let us know what you think about Coherence and superheroes.
Yeah, we have the email now.
Yeah, Lost Legacies Podcast at Gmail. Let us know. You can also go to the bottom of the description of wherever you're listening to this and send us a text.
That's right.
Yeah, do that. And of course, we're on Twitter at # Lost Legacies. I'm on there at _Matt Jimenez and on Instagram at Holy Hand Grenade of Antioch.
You could find me on Twitter and Instagram at Real. It's REEL Texas Weirdo.
And if you want to find Dad, just drop a line at either one of those last two contact points.
Mm-hmm. Sometime this summer, I'm going to want to bring Dad back to do a proper Ask Dad where we just bring questions again.
Yeah.
Like when we first started doing Ask Dad, they were random. They were like about life advice, home fixing advice, insurance advice. I don't know. It was just like a mix of things that like a dad will tell you how to do it, you know?
Yeah.
After that, we kind of started curating it more towards certain things like superheroes and films. So I would like to do another just completely crazy
out there
where we're just going to ask Dad anything. So if you have questions for a dad, send them our way and our dad will answer them.
There you go.
There you go. Also,
we got to do it in times for Father's Day.
Ooh, yeah.
Ooh, nice.
It seems kind of quick, but that'd be cool. We're aiming for the summer, guys.
We got time, yeah.
Do we? We got a lot. Sam's leaving Dad, I'm letting you know. Sam's going on vacation for a week, but we can't afford to not have an episode. So my proposition is that you and I will do an episode on Lost Legacy, Sam Trivia.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
but he won't be here to correct us.
I thought that was just a joke between
or put
us.
It into it.
Maybe it is, but me and Dad are going to have to find some kind of content to talk about.
Oh, gosh.
All right, Dad, what do you like least about Sam? Find out more next time.
Honestly, mijo, it's his hair. It's too much. He should cut it. He looks like a hippie.
Oh man,
it's getting too hot for hair that much.
Also, before we end this episode, in a couple weeks from now, sometime in June, we will be finally jumping back into Lost Season 5. So catch up, guys. Watch the first 3 episodes. We don't have the exact date yet because it depends on Sam's schedule, but I'm thinking second or third week of June, we're going to jump back into Lost. So Until then, get lost.
Get lost.